Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Prolific Creator Podcast. My name is Javier, and today I know I always say it that we have a good one, but it's true because if they weren't good, I wouldn't be inviting them over. Uh, so today we have Aracely with us, and she's joining us from pretty far away. You are officially the farthest guest that we've had.
Really?
So, so who are you? You want to introduce yourself to the people listening?
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thanks, Javier, for having me here. My name is Aracely, and I'm from El Salvador, but now I live in Japan.
Yeah, a Salvadorian in Japan. Now I know that most people are thinking, yeah, Salvadorians in Japan. That's normal, right?
Not so normal.
No, not so normal. Have you ever met another one in Japan?
Yes, I met another Salvadorians, but because I have known them previously in El
Okay,
Salvador. Yes,
okay.
never someone like on the street or in anywhere. Like, yeah, I have met them like purposefully.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So people that you invited over, or
Yes, yes. Or
okay.
I went to visit them to their cities.
So you're not like going to the local pupuseria in Japan or any.
No, sadly, we don't have pupuserias here. Yes.
um so yeah, we'll we'll get to how you ended up in Japan. Let's go back to El Salvador. Growing up in El Salvador, what area of El Salvador, more or less?
I'm from the capital, San
From the capital,
Salvador.
San Salvador.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And how was that? Were you guys more like city people or rural people or?
Yeah, in my case, yeah, I feel I am from the city, but
Okay.
the place where I grew up was a very small town,
Okay.
and all my childhood I stayed there. Like it was inside the city, but I didn't go out too much. Like until I was 20 years old, like I stayed in the same city.
It kind of feels like my case with Puerto Rico because like normally when I tell people that I come from Puerto Rico, like right away they assume like, oh, that's awesome. You lived in an island. You must have gone swimming all the time and eating seafood and all that. I'm like, no, like we had our little town and we would maybe go to the beach like 2 times a year. Like,
It's the same for me. El Salvador is a very small country, and like from anywhere, it's easy to get to the beach in 1 hour or 2 hours.
yeah,
But we went to the beach only on holidays.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like the rest of the time we were just there. Like, on weekends we would go to the nets, the nets town, and that was our thing for the weekends. Like, other than that,
Yeah.
I remember going to San Juan once, and it was because we were going to pick up somebody at the airport. Like,
Yeah, I
so,
imagine. Yeah, so it's the same, almost the same story.
so
Yeah.
um, Japan, how you one of the things we forgot to mention is that you teach Japanese,
Yes.
and in Japan to well, you teach Spanish in Japan, right? Or do you also teach Japanese to other people?
I teach Japanese. Like close where I live, there is a school, like a language school. So many foreigners come to study Japanese. So I teach
Okay.
Japanese there. Yes.
And do you also teach Spanish, or is it mostly just Japanese?
Yeah, I don't like my almost all my experience teaching is teaching Japanese, but I also teach
Okay.
Spanish now, but it's only like a private lessons.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So how how does somebody in El Salvador end up interested in Japan to begin with?
That has to be what I said before. Like I grew up in a small city, and until I
Okay.
went to high school, that was like my whole world. But in high school, I met a Japanese. It was a Japanese volunteer working at my school, and I was always like interested in learning languages.
Okay.
In that moment, I only spoke Spanish.
Okay.
And I met, like, I think it was my first contact with a foreigner. Like in
Oh,
El
really?
Salvador, there aren't many. Yes. So I got like really interested in her and the language, and I asked her to teach me.
Okay.
So and that started everything. Like I was really young, maybe 16 or 17 years old when I started Japanese. And I started as a hobby. It's like just I want to learn more and more about the language and more about another culture.
Okay.
And but then I continued university, and there were like free courses at university too. So I continued to study, but just out of curiosity. I wasn't serious about about the language. It's just I like it to meet people and to know more. And but eventually life led me on the path of Japanese. Like yes, so it was in university, but when I was studying Japanese, I did an exam. Like there was like a exam for Japanese students, and the
Okay.
students that got like the best grade, I guess, they could have the chance to participate in an interview, and then if everything went good, they had the chance to go to Japan for a trip for 2 weeks.
Really?
Yes,
And
yes.
and
And I remember I participated in everything, and I got the chance to go to Japan. And I even left university for a couple of weeks because my classes were ongoing. but, but I felt like life was giving me more opportunities in the Japanese language than the things I was studying in university.
see, I just find that interesting because normally, like you think of people Central America and just Latin America as a whole. They usually want to learn English and they usually want to go to the U.S. and
Yeah,
so this was a totally different.
yes, it was
Uh,
yes, yeah, even I yes, I started learning Japanese before starting to learn English. That is like the common language, yeah, that
so
people are interested in. Yeah.
did your family think you're crazy at all for wanting to go to Japan or?
Everyone, no, before going to Japan, like when I was studying, they would tell me, "Why do you study that? That's not useful." Not only my family, all my friends around were like, what? What are you doing? What? They told me that is interesting. It like, for example, the writing is totally different. So they told me, oh, nice, but why?
Like, why are
that
you
won't.
wasting your time? Like, no.
Yes, you're wasting your time. That won't let you. That won't lead you anywhere. But it let me. It let me.
Let you there.
Yes, I am here. Yeah. So eventually, when I finished university, I got the chance to work teaching Japanese. Before working in my major is accounting.
Really?
I never worked in like in something related to it. Yes,
Accounting sounds interesting.
it is. It is.
Now, were you also because I know a lot of people get into Japanese because they watch a lot of anime or they like manga or stuff like that. Were you ever into any of that geeky type stuff or it just happened?
Oh, the truth is no. Like
No.
I remember they streamed some like, anime programs in El Salvador television,
Yeah.
and I liked some of them, but I didn't know that they were Japanese at all. Yes, I was a fan, but I didn't know anything. Like I wasn't particularly interested in Japanese
Okay.
anime or Japanese pop culture. Yeah, just yes, just the language and to meet people. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because like even right now, I'm trying to learn Japanese, but I think about it and I'm like, I don't even know why. I just like like in my case, I just really like the language, I guess. Um, but I don't watch. I have watched some anime. I enjoy some anime, but I'm not a big anime fan. And yeah, I think to myself like why like normally that's why people want to learn. I'm like, I have no plans of moving to Japan and I don't watch that much anime, so why do I want to learn? I don't know. I just like it. I,
I know that it's just the enjoyment of learning a
yeah.
language. Sometimes it's, and if it's if like exotic or different, sometimes
Yeah.
that's in it, like the motivation. Yeah.
Correct. Like for me, I've always listened to Japanese and found it beautiful in a way. Uh, maybe not in the way that Spanish sounds beautiful, but I don't know. To me, it sounds beautiful in its own.
Yeah, it's another kind of beauty. Yeah, but I've had many students like with different motivations, like traveling or as you said, anime and manga. But I have had many students that they tell me like I already know three languages. I want to learn another one. And Japanese sounds interesting. Yes, just yes.
Now let's talk about that a little bit because you know Japanese, you know Spanish, obviously, you know English, but you also have been studying other languages as well. So does
Yeah.
it at some point just kind of become a thing where you're like, I gotta get more? Like,
Yeah. I don't know,
is it
like
an addiction to languages or?
addiction. Yeah, I don't know, but I really enjoy learning. Like when I start a language, I compare with the other languages that I know, and it's
Yeah.
like how would you say like this a brain enjoyment is to compare many things. Like for example, this language you don't need to conjugate the verbs, or in this language there are like, by example, there are one we that includes yourself and one we that doesn't include you, or things like that, like
Okay.
you find, you say wow, there's different ways of thinking depending on the language. Yes.
You like I mentioned, you know English, Spanish, Japanese. What other languages have you been learning? Because I know you were doing French for a while. I don't know.
I already told you that. Yes, I'm learning French now. Like, it's a hobby, so I don't take it really seriously. Like I study 1 hour a week maybe, but I keep doing it. Like, I think if you keep doing something for a long time, it will like, yes, like
You'll
it will be a
eventually
lot.
learn something.
Eventually, I will learn it. Yes, yes.
Okay.
It was the same with Japanese too. Like at the beginning, I didn't study serious, but that piles up for the learning. Like doing it constantly, even if you don't do it every day, that will help.
How long would you say you studied Japanese before you were like, you know what? I'm really starting to get this. Like I'm really starting to understand what people are saying.
Yeah, it wasn't. The truth is that it took a long time because it wasn't the right way to study. My way wasn't the right one. Because as I told you before, it was my hobby. I studied
Yeah.
once or twice. I went to classes. Sometimes I didn't see my books or do anything outside of the classroom. But after 4 years of studying, I could read and write it, but speaking was very difficult. But I started teaching it, and that forced me to learn more, to study more by myself, and to talk with people. Like I would talk with the other Japanese teachers only in Japanese, and that started. That was the moment when I made it active, and when I started to learn by myself, like with my own interest, no lessons, not going to classrooms, but
Correct. Yeah.
that was the point where everything changes. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, that's a point where anybody really gets into something. Once you have that interest, you know that's when you're going to learn for sure.
Yes, that's why I always say that I learned Japanese teaching it. Teaching it, yes.
Now,
Yeah. Mm.
so eventually you ended up moving to Japan. How did that happen? Because I you made that trip. I imagine you must have enjoyed that original trip.
Yes, the original trip, I was really young when I did, maybe 20, 21. It was my first trip outside El Salvador. No, it wasn't the first one. I went to Guatemala, that is the neighbor country, but it was the first time that I got on a plane to visit another country. Yes, I was 21.
It's a short ride, you know.
Very short. I started with a very short ride. Yes. Yeah, and but I continued. I was teaching Japanese, and then I came to Japan for a 6-month training program too, like when I was 26 or something.
Okay.
And I kept teaching and participating in like Japanese cultural festivals, or we did many events in El Salvador, like Japanese culture related. And I met a lot of Japanese that lived in El Salvador.
Okay.
And then I met my husband there in that group of people. So my husband is Japanese. So I wasn't thinking of coming to live to Japan. I was really interested in Japan and visiting Japan, and maybe to study in Japan for a couple of years, but I never thought of living here. But yeah, yes. That
You're
changed
like,
it.
but here I am.
Here I am. Yes, here I am. Yeah. Yes, when I meet someone, because I was living, teaching Japanese in El Salvador, and I had the chance to talk with people in Japanese. So I learned Japanese in my country, not in Japan. But when people here ask me, did you learn in Japan? Did you learn from your husband? I was like, no. Like, yeah, I already being in this world led me to meet him.
All right. So your first time that you went to Japan, you already knew plenty of Japanese?
The first time, no, I was
Oh,
a
okay.
student. I could speak, but a little bit. The second time, when I came to the teaching training, yeah, that was really interesting too, because this training, there were Japanese teachers from all over the world, and the
Okay.
common language was Japanese. So it was interesting to listen to Japanese with many accents and from many people. Yeah.
That is interesting. I guess when I listen to Japanese, it's kind of weird because it doesn't seem to matter who's talking. At least right now, I don't hear the accents because it all sounds like Japanese to me. I'm
Yeah,
sure once you start to really understand what is being said, I'm sure you probably do start to listen to accents. But yeah,
it
that's
depends
interesting.
from who do you hear it, because believe me, if you hear it from a French person or a Russian
Oh,
person, you will hear the accent. Or yeah.
yeah, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I just kind of hear the. Maybe it's because I'm trying so hard to try and figure out the words, but for me, it's still a lot of mumbled up. Like I'm at that point where you hear somebody talking Japanese and you might catch a word or two, but the rest of it is just like I have no idea if it was one long
You'll
word
get
or
there. You'll get there soon.
especially with music. I'm like they talk so fast. But then I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like we do the same thing in Spanish. Like I was telling my sister, like in Spanish, for example, we'll say like porque sí, uh, and yeah,
Yeah, I
like
think
I
that
can understand that it says porque sí, but at the same time, I'm like, if somebody that doesn't know Spanish hears that, it just sounds like porque sí.
sounds weird.
Sounds like some weird sound that we made.
Maybe you wouldn't be able to explain what is the meaning. Why? Porque sí.
But
Because yes.
so that first time that you went to Japan, it was in a group, right? Like
Yes,
I
it was a
imagine.
group. No, from El Salvador, I went alone, but
Okay.
there was also a group of people from all over the world.
Okay. So how was that first experience? Were you
Yes,
lost, girl from a little town in El Salvador, like all of a sudden in?
yes. Hmm. Well, say, yeah, it was hard to get around the airports. I didn't understand anything. And
Were you guys like in Tokyo or somewhere else?
no, it was the second, like in another city, Osaka is the name.
Oh, in Osaka. Okay.
Osaka. Yeah. Yeah, at the beginning I was scared, like, yes, I didn't understand the signs, but some signs have English too, but I wasn't good at English.
You're like, oh man, mom was right. I should have learned this.
I should have learned English too. Yeah, no, maybe that in that occasion I understood how English is important too. It's really important. Yeah, and but it was really nice to meet another people. What can I tell you? Yes, it was magical for me. It was completely different culture, like to see those the buildings, the big in El Salvador. We don't like the cities aren't big cities. So
Okay.
to see so many buildings was new for me, and also to see the traditional things, the temples, or also the technology. Yes.
The technology, obviously I've never been to Japan, but I keep telling people I find it extremely interesting how advanced they are in some things and how behind they are on other things.
Things, yes,
Over here, if I today I wanted my friend to buy me some games at a store because he has a special code and he would get them cheaper.
yeah,
So he's like, okay, so all I have to do is on my phone, just real quick, send in the money. That's it. Like, and then like in Japan, apparently the bank system is not that easy to make transactions yet, or I've
no, I think they're changing now, but yes, they're behind. Yes, they're behind. If people are here in Japan, they use a lot of cash.
yeah. To me, I'm like, that's weird. But then that's why I almost got in trouble in Puerto Rico when Hurricane Maria hit and I didn't have any cash because I'm not used to carrying cash. And I didn't think about the fact that the bank was not going to work after the hurricane.
Yeah, but I think there is one reason for that kind of things. Like in Japan, there are many, there is many people older than 60, 70,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't like they don't want to use the computer to make transactions or their
Yeah.
cars. They prefer to use cash, and this generation will be in Japan still for many years, so they cannot change all the system because these people will fall behind. They won't be able to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it will take time to change. Yes. Yeah.
Eventually, they'll get there. Yet
Yeah.
they have amazing bathrooms. Yeah.
Yes, the bathrooms. Yes, first time I tried to use the bathroom, I was completely lost, like and scared. I didn't want to use it. I didn't want
It's
to make
like,
a mess.
which button do I press? I don't.
Yeah, yeah. But
Um,
it's just, you can find in this like in the daily life things so advanced, but in daily life things are so behind. It's interesting.
um,
Yeah, yeah. So that was my first time, my first trip. Like it was like it motivated me to continue studying.
okay.
Like we can connect this like me from a small town thanks to languages and thanks to learn languages I was able to know another world, and then I learned Japanese and that led me to be interested in another languages and to know more. So it really, I think what took me here when I am now is like my curiosity, my wish to learn a language. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how I know Japanese people are usually, they're not used to foreigners. I know a lot of people think that, some of the stuff they do is it's a little odd when they encounter foreigners, but I can kind of understand it because for most of them they've never seen somebody from that is not Japanese. So how welcoming, I guess, or not welcoming, would you say Japanese people were to you?
Yeah. In the big cities, I think people is already used to see many foreigners, so
Okay.
it's normal. I think even if you go to some stores or restaurants, they will try to speak to you in English.
Okay.
So they're kind. They try to communicate with you. But if you live in the countryside, there's where they are not so used to foreigners. But Japanese people are very polite. Like I've never felt any discrimination or
Okay.
I no, never. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So maybe the only thing is like they won't be so like they will talk to foreigners, but they won't be so open. Like it's difficult
Yeah.
to make friends here.
But
Yeah.
to me, it sounds like it's almost difficult anyway because it sounds like Japanese culture just tends to be very close to just any other people, not just foreigners, like just between themselves, I guess.
Yeah, depends on the person, but yeah, they're very very private. Yeah.
Yeah, private is the right word. Very, part of why I like Japan is because of the more I, I I tend to say it's a more introverted culture, and I'm an introvert, so I'm like, a lot of that works for me because, like, for example, I was telling a friend, like, I would be okay in Japan because I'm like, when I go to the store and there's a line, I just wait in line. Like, I'm not one of those people that is always like looking for the line that's shortest. I'm like, I'll just
Yes.
stand here and wait. Like,
You follow the rules.
I follow
So
the
you will.
rule. Like, if I see garbage on the street, it pisses me off, and especially when there's like like a trash can right next to it. So
Yes.
you'll pick it up and throw it away. Like, why? I'm like, why can't people just get this? So a lot of those things about Japan, I'm like, I would be okay. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then
Following the rules here is like, yeah,
yeah,
it's part of the life. Yeah.
I'm actually the guy that I don't know in Japan, but over here in the U.S., when you get to a red light and you're turning right, you can still turn. But
Ah,
I'm the guy that wishes that wasn't a thing. I would rather wait for the light to turn green than have to
when
measure.
that's when you are driving.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I would rather wait for the light to turn green than have to measure the distance of the coming car to see if I'm gonna be able to safely. I don't even like turning left. Like,
I don't understand why you can do that in the States. In Japan, it's part of the rules. It's part of the like. If you do that, police will come. Maybe yes, you cannot turn. But here is the opposite. Left.
yeah,
You
left.
cannot do left either if the traffic light is in red. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would prefer that over you know having to
Yeah, it's like it
for
saves you
for me
time.
it's like just
It
just
saves you stress, I think,
yeah.
because if it's green, you can go like without any problem,
uh,
without measuring, as you said.
I actually have a friend that she refuses to turn right on the light, and I don't even know if it's legal or not to not turn. But I can just imagine people must be beeping the horn at
Yes,
her.
behind your
Yeah.
friends. Yeah,
So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, but
yeah, yeah.
um,
Here is
but
totally different. It's like you have to respect other people's spaces, follow the rules. So, like, society will be orderly.
correct,
Like
yeah.
sometimes they are a little bit extreme. Like, by example,
I
the train etiquette, for example, is like you mustn't. It's not illegal, but you mustn't eat on the train or talk by phone or hear loudly to music or dance in the train. Like you don't have you don't have to bother any other of the passengers. That will be like the etiquette of the
and
train.
that's how I like it when I go on the train. I'm like, I just want to sit there and wait for and wait till I get to my destination. I don't want strangers talking to me. No,
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
But it happens. Not everyone follow the rules. And stalking, as you said, happens too. But it's like that's what they wish for, like to be the quiet on the train, completely quiet until you get to your destination.
Yeah.
Yes.
I absolutely hate it when when I'm on like on a train or a bus or something and somebody's calling me. I'm like, I'm not gonna answer because I don't know, I just don't like, because I feel like everybody around me can hear what I'm talking about. And
I see. Okay, you will
so,
be happy here.
so anyway, one of the things that you do. Oh, I forgot. I was gonna say that even all of those things make me think that I would enjoy living in Japan, but then at the same time, I'm like you were saying, sometimes they can be extreme, and I feel like sometimes they can be extremely reserved, even with their own family. Like there's a lot of respect with, I don't know, and I'm like, see, that's one aspect where I prefer the Latino culture because it's very family oriented.
Yeah,
Uh,
here depends on the family, I think, but yeah, there are people that they're very close to their families, and there are people that aren't. But what I miss, as you said, of Latin families, that we are very like, how you say, we show our love, like we do hugging
correct.
and kissing. And
Exactly.
here, yes, the families love each other, but they don't do like much
Exactly.
touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like it doesn't. I'm sure. Yeah, obviously, I'm sure they love each other, but it doesn't seem like there is that showing of affection or any of
Yes,
that.
the show and affection.
Uh,
I'm sure there are some exceptions, but yeah, but yeah,
I
you're right.
remember with my previous position at work, I used to go to Mexico a lot, and that was always weird for me. Because even in the U.S. At work, there's if anything you do handshakes, but you don't even do that much unless you're meeting somebody for the first time. But whenever I would go to to work in Mexico, it's always like, oh, hugs and kisses for everybody.
Yes.
Which being Latino for me, it's normal, because that's how we are. But then I would start thinking about my non-Latino coworkers, how weird it must be for them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And it was weird for me here, coming here too, and like, I don't know when for example, I met my sister-in-law, and then when I was saying goodbye to her, no hug, no kiss. I was like, bye bye. I was like, something's missing here. Like,
It's like, does she
yeah,
hate
but
me? No.
yes, but I know it's not that, but it
Yeah,
was like
yeah,
it's lacking something. But
yeah.
it's me, it's me for being Latina. Yeah.
Did you ever make any of those mistakes of just going up and hugging somebody and knowing that?
It's not a mistake.
Well, not
But
a mistake, but like they call it mistakes sometimes, but no.
no, I've been like from when I lived in El Salvador, like I learned like not showing too much affection. Affection is okay, but now like I hug people. Some of them will like be glad, like happy, and some of them will be like what is happening here? So depends on the person. I think some people will be happy to have some hugs because they don't have so many. Like, yeah. So I think even if I am in Japan, it's at the beginning I was like really reserved. Like I don't know if I feel the urge of hugging someone, I should like control it. But now I think I have to be myself. And
Yeah.
then if people receive it gladly, good for them. If they don't, like, but
They don't just let me know. I'll stop.
yes, 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 yeah. Mm.
So, you do a lot of teaching online. That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about because I don't know. I just think it's such a cool platform. Like I know you have been on Italki.
Yeah.
There are others. I've seen. What's the other one that I? I forget the name.
cannot remember now too, but yeah.
Let's see. I had it on my cell phone. Let's see. Preply. It's another pretty popular one. Um, how is that experience? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
For me,
teaching offline. Yeah.
yeah, just teaching online and the technology that is there. Like, to me, it's pretty cool that you can go to this website and find a teacher and schedule the whole thing and be able to have those one-on-one things with a teacher and it seems like it's a good way to make some extra cash if somebody is
If
able to.
someone wants
Yeah.
to teach, it's a really good platform, as you said, not only for a student but for someone willing to teach their own language. And yes, I started that, and it's really easy, like to do the application. You have to make a video and introduce yourself, and even you can teach with no experience. You can offer like only tutoring lessons, like just
Correct.
practice, conversation practice. So you don't need to be a teacher to teach there. And I think there are many users. Like when I started teaching, I thought it was going to be hard to find someone that wanted to learn Japanese. I started with Japanese and Spanish.
Okay.
But the first month I didn't have so many lessons. I had like maybe 10, but from there it just started growing, like 20. So yeah, depending on the months, I have 50 lessons a month, 60 lessons a month now. Yeah, so if anyone wants to teach there, it's not difficult. Yeah, and it's great.
I just think it's great, maybe in Japan not so much because Japan is not that cheap, but I'm like there's plenty of places where somebody could probably make a good living just doing this from their house.
That's true. Yes, like if it's Latin American country, like you can make your salary there,
Yeah.
like 1 month salary there. Yes, in more expensive countries
Yeah.
like the States, or maybe it could be a good side hustle. Yeah.
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 I didn't see many Japanese teachers in the U.S. when I was searching, but
Yeah,
but yeah.
that's interesting too, because I'm not Japanese. I'm not a native. So at the beginning, I was thinking maybe I won't find students I want to learn with me, because there are many options too to learn with native speakers. But somehow there are people that prefer foreign teachers like me. Maybe because I can relate to their experience of learning more than a native teacher.
Yeah, that in my case, like I had studied a little bit of Japanese back in like 2000. I don't know what year was that. 2010.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long, but the thing that always caught my attention was the fact that their vowels were a, e, I, o, u, or a, I, u, e, o. But
Yeah.
but and the fact that if you wrote it in Romanji, I was able to read it by just trying to read it like Spanish. So
Yeah, it's really easy. The pronunciation is easy.
Yeah.
More for Spanish speakers.
Correct. So yeah, when I started looking for a teacher, I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's any that speak Japanese and Spanish, because in my head I'm thinking like, maybe they're more related than Japanese and English. Who knows? And the fact that you spoke English, Spanish, and Japanese, I was like, okay, I know English, I know Spanish, I want to learn Japanese, so that works out good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. Future stuff that you're planning on working on.
Thank you. Just now, yeah, like until now I've been only teaching the lessons 1-on-1, but I just recently I thought like I needed to create something different. So I'm now working my blog, like making some content. I write about Japanese, but it's like more like my language journey or my experience too.
Okay.
I write in my blog, and I also am now writing a book on Japanese. Yes. to learn Japanese.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
Now the
Yes,
blog.
to learn. The blog is one thing, and then the book is how to teach how to learn better, how to learn better the Japanese letters
Okay.
using images. Yes,
Images. Okay.
images. Yeah.
Now the blog, is this something people should go check out, or is it more of a private blog?
I'm just starting, so there are many articles, but yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Come,
so
please.
so so you leave me a link and then I can put it in the description, right?
Yes, yes, I will. I will.
uh,
Thank you.
and then a book that's cool too. That's interesting. This is for the writing system, right? For the kana.
The writing system I'm starting with a book aimed to Spanish speakers now, but in the future I would like to do one in English.
Okay. Um, do you get a lot of Spanish speakers students or?
Not a lot, but yes, some. I have some students like from Mexico and Argentina. Yeah, but from many countries. Yeah, I have students from the States, from England, from Trinidad, Tobago.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Milwaukee or Racine,
Milwaukee, yes.
Stuttervant. Uh,
Yes.
um, okay, awesome. Now you have mentioned an interest in podcasting.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
but
No plans yet on starting the podcast.
I'm thinking which topic I should talk about. Yes. Because I am in this like language related world, maybe it would be about Japanese or languages. Like I was thinking one of these days, like maybe could be like effective ways of learning a language and interviewing people that know many languages.
Okay,
Yeah.
that will be interesting. Once
No,
I
thank you.
once I learn Japanese and can listen to it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that this just popped into my mind. Originally, your original language was Spanish.
Yes.
Then you learned Japanese, and you have been living in Japan now. Do you feel like Japan has taken over your Spanish, or
No, they
because
can.
for me,
Yeah.
like I started with Spanish, then I came to the U.S. and I learned English. At some point, like English kind of became my first language because I'm like all my thinking, all my dreams, they're always in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
So even when I'm like counting little things,
Wow.
I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like
So
it's
did you
never
learn? You learned English after? Like it wasn't. It is not native to you.
correct. I learned English when I came to the U.S. So I learned, but I was 11. So
11. Ah, yeah.
correct. So that
Good,
might
good
have
age
something to
to
do with it.
start.
But I
Yeah.
figure maybe living in Japan, you probably don't hear a whole lot of Spanish. So
No. Yeah, but I have contact all the time with people that
okay,
speak Spanish, and I think it's like between Spanish and English that what you explained can happen because they are like not similar languages, but they have many similarities. Some words are almost the same, like communication, comunicación. I don't know, but Japanese doesn't have anything to do with Spanish or English. With English a little bit, yeah, but
yeah,
it's totally different. So I think it can be hard to change one for the other. I don't know.
okay.
Yes, but now that
We'll see in 10 years if.
you mentioned the dreaming things, it's interesting because I'm so used to Japanese that I think I dream in Japanese too, or I was thinking one of these days, like if you wake up in the middle of the night and you think something, I think sometimes I think in Japanese too. Like,
See?
or I can speak to someone like half asleep in Japanese.
It's happening. No.
It's happening. It's taking over me. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else that you're that you're working on?
No, use that thing. It's my book, my blog, a future podcast.
Future podcast, and
Future podcast, yeah.
you're like, that's enough for now.
Yes, like for now, I think it's enough projects. But yeah.
Okay, so at the end of every podcast, I like to ask people some dumb questions that have no real answer. Um, just just for fun.
Okay, tell me.
So let's see. If for some reason, I don't know how, but you ended up having to keep only one language in the world, what would it be?
Oh my, that's an easy question. It will be Spanish.
Easy for you, right? Like, let's all speak Spanish. There we go.
Yeah, let's make this world Spanish speaking. Yes, I don't know. Spanish is so full of affection words and also like very useful words, like cursing words. I don't know. It's, it's very colorful. It's a colorful
That is true.
language.
Cursing in Spanish is so much more fun than cursing in any other language that I've. Cursing in Japanese is just crap. It's not.
Yes, not enough. It's not enough. Like I'm not used to curse a lot, but I acknowledge that Spanish is so yes, so colorful in that part. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
all right. No, yeah, that's a good one because Spanish really is a cool language.
Would you keep Spanish too?
I yeah, probably like if I had to pick one language, I'm not gonna pick one that I don't know. So
Yeah, yeah.
and but then it would be difficult for me because I'm like, okay, I don't want to pick English just because English is already kind of taking over the world anyways.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, no. So yeah, it probably would be Spanish, but then I will have to relearn Spanish because a lot of my Spanish is it's not very good. So all right, let's say you find a time machine
Yes.
and there's only one way. It's a one-way trip, so you can use it just once to go somewhere, forward or backwards, or not go anywhere at all. Up to you. Would you use it?
Yeah.
And if so, where would you go?
Wow, that's a
But you
hard
can't
one.
you can't come back.
That's a hard one. Yes, because you can't come back. There are many like points of time that I would like to know, but not to stay there. I don't know. For example, Greece come to my mind, like the classic Greece, but because I love, I would love to know that world, but I know that women rights were really behind at that time. Like, wouldn't be good for living.
So
What?
you're doing the same thing I usually do because normally I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of points in the history that I would love to look at, but I'm brown. So
Yes.
and a lot of those times are not that great for brown people.
Yes, isn't it for women or yeah. So yeah, difficult. So
Also, I'm not very mobile. And I'm like, a lot of those times you had to walk a lot.
yes, there weren't trains or cars.
There was no air conditioning.
Yeah, that would be the best point of time.
But then the future scares me. I'm like, what if I go and I don't like it?
Yeah, because we're gonna say yes, the future will be like awesome with more technology, like yes, very convenient and with more rights for everyone, like a more equal world. But we don't know.
We don't know, especially
We,
nowadays. We really don't know.
so I will stay in my time.
You
Yeah, I'm happy
stay.
here. Yes.
I'll go back a week and then play some lottery numbers and win and be rich. But
Okay. Oh, interesting question. Okay.
all right, let's see. One more. I like to ask this. I probably asked this one too much, but if you had one vaccine that was able to cure any disease in the world, any one disease, what would it be?
A medicine that cure any disease.
It cures one disease,
One
but
disease.
completely cures it.
Wow, that's a good one too. Like requires thinking. Which one? Okay. I will cure depression.
Depression? Okay.
More of the like the illnesses, the diseases of the heart. Yes, depression. Yes.
You know what's funny? When I came out with that question, I figured everybody's just going to answer cancer. But
Yes, but no one
so
has
far, nobody has answered cancer.
really.
Everybody's like, no, cancer seems too basic. So,
Yes, yes. So it wasn't cancer not today
not yet.
either.
So
Not yet.
so nobody has
Yeah.
cured cancer yet.
Oh, I think cancer is like
But depression is a good one because that really affects a lot of people.
yes, I think like if
Yeah.
people like have illness of the heart, as I call them, like they will be like more likely to get cancer. So I think if we cure that first, then we cure many diseases.
Yeah, it is interesting. I've seen studies about how the mood of the brain can actually affect how the body fights cancer and stuff like that. So, and especially in a country like Japan, that is a big problem right now.
Big issue.
So,
Yes.
Japan and Korea, I think it's also huge. I mean, it's a big problem all over, but
Yeah.
awesome. Well, we have reached the end of this episode. Is there anything else that you would like to add to mention to the people? Do you do social media? Should people follow you anywhere?
Ah, I do have a Facebook group, but can I send you the information after? So maybe you can
Yeah.
put the link
So we
because
can
I
put it
don't
in the link.
remember names. Yes.
There will be a
Sorry,
link
I
in the
didn't
description.
prepare that.
No. Most people send that later. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. No, thanks for having me, and I'm happy that I could like share my experience with languages, and I encourage people to learn a language, any language. It doesn't have to be Japanese or Spanish, but it's really fun to learn about another way of thinking, and it's a challenge for you. Like you feel very happy when you start producing, talking. So go for one language.
No, that is true. I don't know. Like I feel like I know Spanish and I was in Puerto Rico and everything was fine. But then learning English in the U.S. it opens your world to
It
so
opens the
many
world.
so
Yes,
many
it
more
opens
possibilities.
doors. Yes,
Yeah.
doors, the world, more people, more opportunities.
Uh,
So
and now I want to learn Japanese, and that'll open even more doors, more opportunities,
yes,
more
yes.
experiences. So I do wish, and sadly, I see this a lot with Latinos in the U.S. that they're always so afraid of not speaking perfectly, and they know English, for example, but then they're afraid of talking, and that's a problem. I'm like, just talk. Who cares? Like I've been living with my accent for many years.
yeah,
And, yeah,
just talk. Don't. It's okay to make mistakes, and we learn
yeah.
from them. And yeah, it's it's
Um,
it's no big deal. But yes, we have to practice, and then to make the mental shift to
correct,
think having mistakes. It's okay. It's okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Will there be jerks sometimes that make fun of people? Yeah, but
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
That there's their problem. Like they,
they're
I feel
everywhere.
interesting when people joke like, you don't speak well the language, but the people that says that is the people that only speak one language.
Yeah, exactly. Like let's say you say that in
What?
Spanish or something.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Exactly. Like be proud of the fact that you know two or more languages.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I know it's morning for you still. That's weird.
Yeah, no, it's a good hour for me. Don't worry.
But yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. This was very interesting. like I said, the farthest prolific creator has gone to
Yeah.
all the way from Japan. All
Thank
right.
you, Javier.
No, thank you.
じゃあ、またね。
またね。
さようなら。